Okay, so the next film that I'm going to review is War Pony. Now, I thought that this was great. I thought that this was really, really good, and I thought that this could work on a lot of different levels. Instead of saying what I'm inferring and putting my own voice into the director's voice, I'm going to try and say what I took from it, instead of saying, like, I'm going to talk about how I relate to certain things in this. Man, being so close to the screen all the time is making me feel sick as fuck, man. Um, I'm going to talk about what I identify with, rather than be so childish as to say this is what this person's saying. It's one of the main reasons I keep talking about what my intentions are, but also I guess even when I'm saying what my intentions are, I'm leaving some stuff out, even just accidentally. So like, and then I feel like I want to go back and say, oh, Leo, I did this and I did that because of that, and it's sort of like pointless. I mean, the only thing for me is like not necessarily wanting people to infer stuff that I'm not saying, because I do believe that, like, look at communism, and like it fucked up. It's seemingly designed by somebody that wanted to take away from the excessive amount of wealth that some people had, and the lack of financial wealth that other people had. You think like I've been really getting into Suicide Boys at the minute, which probably ties into sort of War Pony a little bit, because he's listening to a lot of like sort of like trap beats. Obviously, trap being something that was first coined by Andre 3000 of Outkast, by basically saying that these songs are trapping you in a prison sometimes. Sometimes that can help free you though. But like he listens to a lot of trap beats, so I guess like Suicide Boys is because I've been listening to a lot of the music and I really, really fucking like it. However, what one thing and I really loved watching them in an interview the other day. I thought that they came off well. I thought that they both had a different style, and the only one thing I didn't like was where they said, "Oh, some communist tried to reach out to me the other day," and I just said "fuck off, communist" or something. And I also thought that, like, I think that what's dangerous with some of this type of art, like, obviously it's almost like the Eminem thing. Kids shouldn't be listening to this, but I do feel like putting suicide into people's life, you can't help what you've experienced, right? But I feel like creating bass heavy music, which has solely got the intention of hypnotizing people and putting suicide into the minds of people, like, some really delicate people might listen to that and they might actually top themselves. That's my fear from music like that. What you don't want is to lose people because of a narrow-minded path. But what you do want is people killing a version of themselves and coming out stronger on the other side, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, to think, oh, woe is me, and etc., etc., etc. Like, I think that you need both. I think that you need both sides of that. I think that you need to work on yourself, and I think that through working on yourself, you get to help others. I don't see this whole ideology of it's just about being a solo person with no aids and no help is crazy to me. Like, the whole thing of the YMCA, where they made the YMCA song like super gay, and you think, well, why is it like that's basically the way of these people in within Christianity, saying that if you need our help, that's super feminine. Do you know what I mean? And you think, like, why is feminine even a bad thing? Why is being gay a bad thing? Do you know what I mean? Strange thing to be saying, like, don't go and get help from anybody. More often than not, I think you look at guys who try to do it all on their own, and you feel like those people don't look like they're in the greatest way. Why would we ever want to be pushing for a society where we're all on our own and we don't eat with other people and we're not? We don't maintain and build friendships and build bridges, etc., etc. You know, like why would we be pushing for a society where uh, you want people to be on their own? It's like that sounds insane, and it sounds like something that the church and the government want. I think that they want people. I think that they want to push people into being on their own so that they can manipulate. Who joins the church? Do you know what I mean? Lonely people that feel like they have no one else. So they go to church so that they can feel like they're not alone. And usually they get told to make out that they're the victim, that they're no longer a victim and that they did everything to themselves. And you think that's fucking bullshit. If 10 people run up to you and kneecap you, like 10 people just run up to you and kneecap you, like what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation? It's utterly ridiculous to think that you can do this on your own. And it's also like a good house guest goes and stays somewhere and leaves, do you know what I mean? When they can tell that person doesn't really want them there anymore. You also think that sometimes, like, what indicates a guest, don't think that I'm saying that that is a sign for immigrants to leave. It's definitely not. If you were born in this country, you know nothing else other than this country. Do you know what I mean? Um, so I don't think that that's what I was saying with that. War Pony, like a pretty good segue for what I just said, really, because the whole thing of America basically saying, uh, get these immigrants out. Look at a film like this. Do you know what I mean? Look at like, and what I hope is it being written by Native Americans. What you hope is that this is an accurate depiction of what's going on within Native American society, because you've got you've basically got what I took from this film is I'm watching two children who are seemingly decent people and they're doing things that aren't the acts of decent people, you know? You're watching one guy through like being surrounded by poverty and sort of early pregnancy, and you know, like you're watching this one guy listen to music that he might not necessarily understand the intention of, getting face tattoos, and then he starts working for some guy who is then he starts working for like a rich American dude who basically wants to use him as somebody who ferries young women to him. You think that that's super fucked up, but like the guy didn't know any, you know, the guy was raised in a society where he didn't really know um any different than these things. Do you know what I mean? Like he's just literally like, you think of the whole concept of like free will, right? And you think, well, free will is imposed by society, really. Do you know what I mean? When you take away the power of the parents, what you have is the education on and the imprint of society on the child. Because like if I show it, this goes into like Plato, you know, the allegory of the cave and whatever, like if I only show you shadows, if I only show you shadows and transporting goods, that's all that you think that life is. Do you know what I mean? Transactional relationships and these imprints of what a human being is that have absolutely nothing to do with being a human being. And it's really sad to think that like, because you look at, obviously the spoilers in this, but like you look at bits like where the guy is, where the two characters meet, and that's such a touching scene where the kid breaks into his house to steal food, right? And the guy basically goes, "Hey man, like, what's up? Are you hungry?" And instead of like, he doesn't even say don't steal the food. What he says is like, do you want some food? What do you want to eat? Do you know what I mean? So like the kid who was at that point, like his dad's died. Uh, his dad was seemingly either like taking or selling meth and smoking weed, and you know like being fairly violent. Towards his son as well. And you can't judge his dad for this either. Like being fairly violent towards his son, and being fairly violent sort of as a way of um, solving his issues and his son's issues. And I could infer whatever societal shit is going on here. I did think at times, like, is this a way of, because war pony, you have war horse, right? And I thought, is this a way of depicting that this is like a small-minded, these are small-minded actions? And I thought, well, I don't think it's very fair to insult, like, when you don't think that there is actually any free will, when you think that what that we don't really let people explore humanity, that what we do is we give imprints onto people. I don't really think that it's very fair to judge the actions of people as either small-minded or large-minded. People are just doing what they're shown. Do you know what I mean? It's the same way as if you train a kitten or a puppy. They just do what they're shown. Do you know what I mean? Um, So, like, yeah, I thought that hopefully what the directors or writers' intentions were to be showing this stuff as small-minded, but to be showing it as like small-minded because they're worth so much more as a people, and as you see some of the actions of these kids, and like, there's the small kid that's like stolen a car. I can identify with some of this shit as like as a child. I never stole a car, but I was with somebody who was drink driving, it was his car, but we were wasted, and he took out the car, and we got into an accident. Like, you know, there's only so often you can say I wasn't driving. Like, you think, well, the problem there was me being out of control from alcohol, and me doing something that was me being out of control on alcohol, so therefore getting into a situation that I didn't agree with in the slightest. Like, it's very possible that we could. It was very late at night, but it's very possible that we could have caused some damage to a human being. Instead of just nicking the corner of a car. Taking a corner a bit too fast. It's very possible that we could have caused some damage to someone. So, like, you have to take responsibility for these actions, but also, like, can you blame children in situations like this that have come from a violent home, so they've had to leave that home? They're smoking weed at, like, I was smoking weed at 13. I was taking hard drugs by 16, probably a little bit later. I was drinking by 13. I was drinking heavily by 14. I was smoking weed every day by 15, doing A-class drugs from 16. Yeah, and for all those kids going, yeah, I was doing it at 10 or 12 or whatever, like, that's great. But, like, I'm saying at 16, your brain's still growing, you know? So to grow it with the like, experiencing drugs and abusing them are two different things. And I was abusing drugs to get out of a horribly stressful situation, you know, and it was making me make worse decisions. So you think that when you view these things, like, I can identify with these kids, like, both of them. I can identify with being stupid, um, but being decent, like, again, the kid breaks into his house and he just goes, "Hey man, I'll feed you." I don't think that that's the act of a stupid person. I think that that's what people should do, and like, what happens after that. Do you know what I mean? No, nothing. He's given this person the food that he asked for, and they've both gone their separate ways. And if you think that, like, if we had more as a society the ethos of, like, feeding feeding people in need, because, like, when I mentioned communism earlier and suicide boys and stuff, like, what my intention of leading on to was, you think that what we need is a blend. Like, we're very good at stealing stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? White people, and all people, not just white people, all people are very good at stealing stuff. And you think, well, maybe it's about stealing stuff in the right way. Like, if what Joe Rogan was saying the other day, and I'm sure that this is being not the other day, a while back now, a couple of months ago, I think, but, like, you think that theorizing about maybe taking some of that military budget from all people, and giving people, like, a base amount of money to live off, and potentially property or land, um, getting them to care for what you look at, like, there's this whole thing of, oh, a lot of people like Trump because they perceive that he gave them money during lockdown, but he didn't give them money. The American government gave its people money, but you think people poor, there are a section of poor people that didn't like Trump, right? And then all of a sudden they went, Oh, he's giving us money, so we like him now. Fuck all those fuck Trump songs. Actually, like we like Trump now. Do you know what I mean? So you think the action of giving can often lead to like respect for people. Do you know what I mean? And you think it's about a fine line. You think about like if you give people enough to feed themselves so that they can grow properly, giving people money for food or like and giving them the ability to grow their own stuff so that they can uh, rely on society less. Giving people a reason to like that. I feel like my city is a town that tries to incorporate punishment onto its people and tries to break them down and take everything from them, and then give them stuff, but give them a small amount of stuff back and say that you should be happy that you're being given this small amount of stuff. That's what I feel like my town does. And I feel like that's disgusting. I feel like that is utterly and completely disgusting. And I feel like that, I don't feel like that's indicative of Christianity. I feel like that's indicative of the controlling forces of my town, you know. I hope. Like doing little bits of traveling and spending time around different cultures and different people, I don't think that this is everybody, you know. So I do feel quite bad when I take shots at Christianity or take shots at police. What I'm essentially doing is I'm taking the shots at the churches in my town and the corrupt churches in my town, the corrupt police in my town, you know. Um, corrupt government in my town. But this, yeah, I feel like like I don't understand why giving people a base amount of money enough to survive, and then if you have people that are successful in doing things that they enjoy, um, like people will gravitate to want more, won't they? And then hopefully through that more, they will do something that is not just good for them, but good for society. But when you just have a community of people or a government or like a police force just saying we're a totalitarian regime, did you not know? And kneecapping people left, right, and center who say, I think I have a different way here. That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? You might find that by giving a little, um, that you get a lot more back in return. But like I feel like do you know what I mean? Like for me personally, I'm on benefits right now, and it's literally got to the point where they've made it so that they're now debting me up so that I get £100 every fortnight, right? I can't afford my rent, I can't afford my bills. I'm getting into further debt with my bills. I'm getting into further debt from old like phone contracts that I didn't finish paying off. And now they're making it so that I can't afford to eat healthy food in order to keep my mind straight and active, in order to get a job that's appropriate for me, you know? And what's crazy is like even though I've been perceived to, even though I feel like I've been bullied out of every job that I've had, but especially the last four that I've been bullied out of them from a perceived like you won't toe this line where we're telling you to do stupid stuff and you have to just believe us. I have to like toe this fucking line and do these ridiculous things, or I get punished and sacked. Right, and I have these people around me using prostitution, drugs, alcohol in order to punish people that won't like and often what I find is I want to do the best for that job. Like and what it seems to me is that like yeah, the same as I said before, like and then I go into a situation where the police basically I feel like I'm being bullied by my council right now where they seem to be indicating to me that oh this is a wolf trap and you're going to regret saying that you were disabled. Like I have been depressed. I do think that school and the education system didn't suit me at all, and it had absolutely nothing to do with my intellect and my want to learn, you know? My want to work hard, it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with, and seemingly there are more and more people like me that keep coming into this situation where they're finding this. On every side, do you know what I mean? On the right, on the left, on the middle, on the far right, on the far left. In different countries in the US and in the Middle East, in the Islamic community, in the white community, in the Christian community, in the Jewish community. I'm anyway, in women, in men, and do you know what I mean? in people that are defining new ways of defining their own sexuality, etc. Like, anyway, War Pony. So I was really sad at the same time as feeling really happy for these characters. I really, really liked them both, even though they were doing things that were harmful for themselves, harmful for the people around them. And I really liked the camaraderie that was like, with the kid and his friend, with the younger one, who, like, when he's sleeping in the bed with all his friends, and when they steal that car and they're driving and drinking, and felt so sad for the kid when the security guard, when his dad had died, and he'd almost been pushed into a like adoption house where he was sort of forced to sell meth. Again, identifying with this, where I feel like I got trapped up by little church weirdos, like, and I wasn't necessarily drug dealing. What I feel like I was doing was buying large quantities of drugs that were cheap for me, and then I ended up, I guess, selling it to people around me. Like, but I was way more of an addict than a dealer. I never made any money off selling drugs, but I wouldn't have ever wanted to push drugs that were not good for my own psyche in the way that I was using them. I don't think magic mushrooms, I don't think LSD, I don't even think ketamine, I don't think painkillers are bad when you use them correctly, but the way that I was using them was through um, depression, through hating my own surroundings and my own mental state, you know. Um, and that's why I guess I could identify with these kids. Like, it's like I've talked about before. Like, what this society seems to do is it goes, "Oh, you don't want to toe the line, then we're going to throw you into the weeds." And then what they do when, like, in every aspect of counterculture, they create what they state to be crimes, right? So they basically get everybody in your society to hate you because you have a different way of thinking, a different way of every time somebody thinks differently, it creates a whole new avenue, you know. And when people are thinking differently, especially when reasonably clever people are thinking differently, sometimes that what that can be is a whole new pathway for people that are about to catch up with that way of thinking, you know. Um, and you think it's crazy for somebody to go, I don't like existing in a complex that enforces slavery. However, I want to work hard and I want to be good. And what our society seems to do is throw those people to people committing worse and worse crimes as you get further and further down that path. I think that that's such a disgusting way for society to behave, and I feel like that's the way that we behave in most religions. It's almost like, because I never felt like I was refusing to do something that was beneficial for me or for other people. I felt like I was refusing to enforce slavery, and I felt like I was refusing to enforce stupidity. I've talked before about how in England we see a stop sign. Like, there's this whole thing I think I saw that in China you can get like your, through jaywalking, through crossing the road without a light system telling you when it's applicable to cross the lights. You can have like certain benefits removed from you, right? And you think, well, shouldn't I be able to? Sometimes you might travel the world and you might come across places that don't have a traffic light system everywhere you go. What am I going to do? Am I going to like go to cross a road in another country, experiencing another culture, and go, oh, I don't know whether to cross this road because there isn't a green man or a red man. Fuck off. And a lot of French people, like, they don't use a light system. They don't use a zebra crossing. Do you know what I mean? They don't use a black and white system to tell them when to fucking cross. They use their common sense on if there's a car coming both ways. It's so ridiculous. Like, what we enforce in England and the West is, if you don't do as we say, we're going to punish you. You think there are loads of other communities that go, use your head. Basically, you're going to get run over if you don't look left and right. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have an injury or you're going to die if you don't look left and right. And a lot of like our societies breed stupidity so that we have slaves, intentionally breed stupidity so that we have slaves, and then funnily and then call them stupid. Do you know what I mean? So crazy, man. So it's so bad. we take away the ability to know to look left or right, and then we punish those people that do look left or right. It's mad. It's maddening, man. But yeah, like so I felt that this young kid, I felt like he gone through such a hard time, and then even when you get like his girlfriend breaks up with him because she goes, I'm not going to stick with somebody that's my mum told me not to hang around with you, and I'm not going to stay with somebody that can't get through high school. And you think like the kid's dad died. He was grown in a violent household where his dad had already thrown him out of the house. He then got pushed into a halfway sort of home where he was like yeah adopted but given bad food and told to sell meth for the family that he was living with, and like for the house that he was living with. You think, and then he's getting judged by these people that seemingly have a much better life, and told that he can't be a human being. It was really sad, man. But also like whilst being so sad, you then saw him being happy, and it made me feel happy. It made me glad that he had a close network of people around him. Even though because they were all subject to the same shit, right? And he was still trying to learn magic he was like he kept reading that book as a way to attempt to get out of that. Do you know what I mean? As a way to get out of as a way to try to get out of his situation. It's almost like he was attempting to dream through guidance of a way to make his life better. Really, really touching film. And the whole thing where the older kid, like at the end, where he says you need to go and steal 40 turkeys because his poodle, I guess I was seeing that as like like I was identifying that with the drawings that I've done, and then taking the piss and saying that I intentionally drew that picture of Jimmy Savile in the broken glass television box being walked by the head of the monarchy with pedo racket behind it and stuff like speedo racket behind it and stuff like I guess I identified as the poodle that he let out at the end that he accidentally let out at the end who killed 40 turkeys. I thought it was really funny when the guy was saying how would a poodle kill 40 turkeys, like you let a poodle out into a land full of people who are living within a caged um, setting, then like a dog that's gotten free is going to metaphorically rip those rip those turkeys apart, I guess. And I thought it was even funnier then when the guy got pissed off with that guy who was essentially a child pimp. Do you know what I mean? Like he was fucking young girls and getting this guy to bring him young women, and the Native American kid, then goes and takes some of his mates, and they steal a ton more turkeys from him. And they don't kill the turkeys this time. They steal them and set them free. I thought that was even better. I thought that was some great imagery. But and I don't quite see like if that's what a pony can do, then that's a good show. Do you know what I mean? I guess like if that's what a pony does, is like at first it accidentally kills some turkey. At first it accidentally kills some turkeys, and then through thinking about shit properly, it steals those turkeys and sets them free. I thought that was real cool, man. I thought it was a great film because I thought it treads that line well of saying this is some pretty stupid shit, but being a dumb motherfucker, you can really achieve some great shit. Do you know what I mean? You like through being stupid, you can still get your wins in against such huge conglomerate like these people that are going, we have tons of money, you can't, what are you going to do to us? We're going to sack you and we're going to get rid of you. Like, what watching a depiction of what you can do as a stupid motherfucker was great because I also love XXX extension. And do you know what I mean? I also love a lot of that music whilst seeing the actions of these people and listening to the lyrics of these people and know that they're doing their best in a society that's really not doing a lot for them, you know. So yeah, fantastic film, and it made me want to watch. It was that good that it made me want to watch more Native American programming. it made me want to finish off watching this detective show that I watched. Like I started watching last year. I think I only watched the first couple of episodes on Now TV, and then um, I didn't watch I didn't finish it off. I don't know if, but I was enjoying it, and it made me instantly think, oh, because I love that fucking actor as well. The guy that's in Fargo is like the silent assassin, the silent hitman for that Irish family, and the guy that's he's also in that awesome horror western with the cannibal. But what's it called? Fuck man, what's it called? Um, Bone Tomahawk. That's a good ass film, man. I mean, so rough at it, like really good at creating this. Like you almost feel like the whole film is about this vibe of you got that wrestler guy at the start, Courtney Cox's ex, and then you've got this whole vibe of thinking like it's about the sort of semi camaraderie between these people in the West. Do you know what I mean? These cowboys and sheriffs that are going to take back this woman who's been caged by these savages, right? I guess. And then they go to the place and like when that guy is trying to calm that guy down when they grab both of his ankles, turn him upside down, and hack in between his body from the gooch downwards, like with that pickaxe. She was like, "Motherfuck, man!" Anyway, this isn't a review of Bone Tomahawk. It's just a great film, but yeah, War Pony really was fantastic. Yeah, really made me want to watch more. Um, maybe want to watch more by those actors. Maybe want to watch more by those directors, by those writers. Um, really did um, harrowing shit combined with a sort of loose sense of happiness, finding happiness within how torturous life can be. Yeah, great film, War Pony. Also, soundtrack was cool, man.